Welcome to TFT, Tarot for Today, Divine Dappings with Oberon and Banshee. It's me, Oberon, with Goth Tarot, and I'm up to my usual tricks, playing around with the filters of the camera to make me look even creepier than I already do. But we're in week 2 of exploring the larger shadow pattern of the Dark Passenger, which we get from the Cries of the Soul's Oracle. It's a wonderful work. And the Dark Passenger says, I create sympathetic inner dialogue. Basically, it's another form of codependence. As soon as you hear my cold, monotonous, and negative voice, all your senses are on alert. I activate your sympathetic nervous system, and you find yourself filled with dread. I constantly remind you of your failures and make you think you are alone in the world and can only depend on yourself. I am the voice of your dark side, your suffering, which envelops you in dismal and painful energy. I don't believe in beautiful surprises, happiness, or love. The Dark Passenger robs us of our ability to be more spontaneous and to enjoy being in the moment, enjoy experiences that almost everybody takes for granted. So we're going to explore that a little bit more. Mostly, I want to remind everybody that the major explanation work was begun last week on Goth Tarot with Banshee. So this is going to be a slight review with emphasis on where we're doing it in that process of assimilating the shadow. So first, I'd like to start off with a reading and affirmation of the Earth and Bone Oracle by Syrian Shadow. I picked Flow 24. Recovery. Moving on. Finding peace. You have a responsibility to yourself to face your pain or hardships and heal yourself so that you can love your life and live it to the fullest. Unblock the flow of abundance through forgiveness. Visualize your past traumas in a water current and let them dissolve. The key to your success and fulfillment lies in the other side of forgiving your past and the people who hurt you. You will prosper and heal yourself once you forgive and let go of any wrongdoings. Your spirit allies are deeply sorry for your suffering and recognize your difficulties. but they gently help you to understand that you must go through the experiences in order to progress. They remind you that if you want peace and prosperity, you must choose to move on. Reflect where unforgiveness resides in your subconscious. Decide if you are willing to be totally free. Cleanse yourself of all the negative debris. See any grief, anger, or resentment that is holding you back clearly in your thoughts as you let go and forgive it. Continue to envision it disintegrating as it flows away in a stream. Believe that letting go of these worries is possible. Feel your heart begin to fill with love. Miracles can happen and you are deserving of them. You preserve control over your own destiny and reality. Allow yourself to let go of whatever expectations you have placed on others, as well as any grief and pain they may have caused you. Let go of any expectations that have been placed on you. You set yourself free by forgiving others. Affirmation: I forgive myself. I am enough. I let love in. I release the past and any energies that do not serve my greatest good. And once again, that's from Syrian Shadow's Earth and Bone Oracle, which I use pretty regularly here on Goth Tarot. And this oracle flow does have its own way of overlapping with the work that we are doing with the Dark Passenger, because it's important to forgive whoever and whatever out there enabled that behavior that you experience from the Dark Passenger, the inability to be spontaneous and find joy in the moment. So we're going to move to the update, and as I mentioned before, we use a couple of decks from the Erethereal Tarot Company, and the first one is the Shadow Work Tarot. So we're going to use this to actually look at the idea of what an update looks like. What does an update to our work with the Dark Passenger look like? Does it show that we are understanding or improving on how this shadow is limiting us? Let's take a look. As the King of Swords. And the King of Swords suggests that we may be overthinking it. We may be over-judging our role here. We may be trying to decide that this work is not as necessary, and maybe we're not giving it its due diligence. The King of Swords could also be suggesting that in some ways we're a little bit relentless and we want to power through this, and we think we can win the situation just by somehow finding a way to power through it. And it's not going to be true in this kind of shadow work. We need to spend as much time as we need to here. So to see what else is possibly helping or inhibiting this work, I'm going to use the other deck by Erethereal called the Opaline Tides. And what I'm looking at here is what is that tide that either rushes in or rushes out, either bringing you something that can relieve or taking you into a deeper situation that may be harder to resist in certain ways, a tide that pulls you under. What is the dark tide? And is it pulling you under or bringing you back to shore? And it's the Nine of Cups that's upright. And the Nine of Cups is upright because the tide that's pulling you in is your deepest wishes to conquer this thing, to understand what the effects of the dark passenger are, and how you can tell them to go take a hike, that you don't need their interference, you don't need to rush through this, you just need to let it wash over you and realize it is your truest desire. It is the desire you want the most. And so if the dark passenger or other codependent issues are trying to make you feel like you don't really want that, remember flow. That in order to recover, you have to learn how to forgive everybody for what they're doing, including yourself. All right. So that's the updates as they are. We're going to move on to a couple of shadow issues that may be related to the dark passenger, or they may not. And the first is the dark detour. And the dark detour is the road we take, the detour we take, that can take us away. It's a different path we choose to follow, something we use to divert us from dealing with the shadow issue. So use the deck, the Midnight Boulevard, because we wouldn't want to take a detour down the boulevard. And I got this from Tabata.com. I'm not sure who the actual designer is, I don't remember. I have used it here a bit on Goth Tarot. So once again, we're looking at the dark detour, the road or avenue we take to find a way to change our route to avoid dealing with the dark passenger, hopefully. But will it really work that way? Here's the dark detour, and it's the Four of Swords. So the Four of Swords says we're taking a permanent vacation, or we want to take one, or we're taking some sort of vacation. We're we're saying we need to recover, but are we really working on the shadow issues, and do we need avoidance? If we fear that things are forcing us to confront the dark passenger, then maybe we are still trying to avoid it by pretending we actually are working on it, but we're not. We're just sort of ignoring it. But we're using the excuse that we're trying to recover. Mostly, I think, we benefit because nobody's going to question that. Not really. All right. And now I'm going to move on to the dark twist. The external unknown factors or actors that could show up and cause a twist that we're not expecting. And that twist could force us to leave the shadow work behind, or more delays in working with it. So we really want to watch for that. The twist could also bring about something we don't quite yet understand that maybe is important to you now. I'm using the Black Tarot for the dark twist. The dark twist is the King of Wands reversed. I guess I saved room for the fellow king there, eh? The dark twist is that maybe you're going to confront the idea you really don't want to advance this way. That maybe you're prepared to settle here and leave yourself unwilling to really confront this. And that maybe the dark twist is that deep inside you have given up. You're not brave enough in certain ways, or you don't feel that there's any just cause in doing that. That maybe you are rationalizing, saying it doesn't really matter. And it almost sounds like it leads into the next card then, the position of the dark spiral. The thing or things about all of this that maybe are draining you. And some of this could just pertain to regular shadow work in particular. It may not be about the dark passenger per se, but I think a few of the cards did hit on where it overlaps. So I'm using the Gothic Tarot of the Vampires to look at the dark spiral. The thing that's draining you now. And in that draining, it weakens you to the point where you don't have the will to resist. So what is the dark spiral? And it's justice. What trains you is an epiphany or a realization that this is probably one of the major problems you are facing right now, and that you really need to understand that your salvation, the judgment factor, totally depends on you not screwing this up. The dark spiral says maybe you're avoiding this work, or that you should at the very least embrace it wholeheartedly to try to learn the spiritual lesson that's going on here. It's time for you to realize that the dark passenger needs to arrive at their destination, and the two of you should never bother each other again. I'm going to close with an oracle and brief affirmation from the Dark Light Oracle by Carol and Ashkenazi. Heartbreak Palace. Arrows in the heart. The statue behind me is wounded by piercing arrows and bleeds endlessly. His love is gone. His hope has died, and he feels that any kind of joy has deserted him. So here I come to remind him that red is also the color of his future love, and his penance will end. Are you in pain too? Why? What have you lost? What is breaking your heart? Do not let yourself become a suffering soul. Remember that joy and love are nearer than you think. Remember that skies will be blue after they've been gray. Follow through with your pain, but then take this arrow out of your heart and return healed to the world. Affirmation. I accept feeling this suffering to the deepest, but having done so, I stop long imposed penance and I come back to life and joy. I think there's a lot to think about here. The first oracle said we need to work on forgiving ourselves and others for how we feel they've given us this pain and these shadows to deal with. And I think what we've shown here is that the dark passenger doesn't have to be like that backseat driver, that Sunday driver that is more in command of you than you are the actual driver. So I think we just need to keep doing this message here and remind ourselves who's in control. Let's keep working on it. Until next time, thanks for watching.